to help make sure all your questions are answered today. I'll be looking in the chat for your questions. So at any time you want to ask some questions, you can put it in the Q&A, put it in the chat, and we'll be happy to make sure we get as many of those answered before the end of the call, as well as we can always email you afterwards, of course, anything if we run out of time. So we're excited to show you guys the AP robot today and how easy it is to set up, how easy it is to use. I hope we have a little fun today, and Scott and I are pretty lighthearted. There might be some fun stuff in here too today. So we're excited we're here. I'm going to keep you guys on mute for now just so that we keep moving through it. But like I said, use the Q&A, use the chat. I'll be peeking at that as we go. So we'll make sure we get all your questions answered. So Scott, we're going to leave it up to you.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. And just want to thank everyone for, for stepping up and, signing up for the get together here today so that we can go over and talk about how, AP automation can actually help your company. And with that being said, really look forward to, hearing any feedback and any questions that you may have along the way. Generally in these situations, I don't mind having the mics open, but I know it's easier if we kind of keep control by just putting the chats out there. So if there's a question at all, let us know, and we will take it from there. So anyway, we came up with this idea to have an AP automation day. So today now, July 15th, has now been scheduled to be. Will this be an annual event, Stephanie? July 15th every year will be AP Automation Day?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We'll talk to some people, get that on the radio and stuff. All right. So I'm excited again, like I said, for you guys to be here. And the bottom line, you're here because there's a lot of manual processes that go into automating or actually processing your accounts payable today. And there's a way to solve that, a solution to handle that. And we're out here looking to try to help you manage, 70, 80, 90% of that being touchless, ultimately allowing you to take something as simple as just taking a PDF, dropping it in a folder, and letting the system take over. And I'm going to show you some examples of that, and we'll show you how that's going to work for you. But the bottom line is we really want to help you automate this process. So what can you learn about AP automation? Well, the bottom line is there's a number of things that AP automation, AP robot, I should say, can do for you. We actually do real-time three-way matching of your invoices to GRNs to purchase orders. So the bottom line is we, in a hierarchy fashion, we actually look out, we match up POs, we match up line items, we match up vendors. We find all that information, and when everything matches, frankly, we have the ability to write that right into that invoice right into Syspro with no touching at all, just completely touchless. Now we do exception-based processing also. So if we have that same scenario, but say the price is $1 more than our purchase order requested, we will then potentially stop that from posting and give you the ability to choose how to handle that. Maybe you need approval to accept that new price. Maybe you're in the position that you have the authority to say, that's fine, let's accept that. But I'm aware that there's been a price change. So we can handle that exception based, and also any anomalies that may come up. I mean, we're dealing with reading information off of an invoice, kind of a foreign document. And if there's any anomalies that way, we can actually make an adjustment to information if we needed to live right on that page. This gives us the ability to capture early payment discounts. Also eliminates data entry, and frankly will reduce your invoice processing time dramatically. I'm going to take a quick look here at the life cycle how things are handled currently compared to how they would be handled with the AP robot. Today, with a manual process, the invoice gets received in, whether it's a hard copy or a PDF in an email, it gets received in. That data, frankly, if it's a PDF, generally you're having to print that out so that you've got a copy, because you need to look at that when you get ready to manually enter it into the system. And so then this data gets manually entered into the system. If there's multiple line items or multiple discrepancies even with information, that's all got to be done manually. We review that and go through those steps manually today. And then if there's approvals that are needed somewhere along the way, that has to be handled too. I keep walking into companies and they're like, well, when we get the invoice, we print it out and then we pass it around the office. It goes from here to here to here. And when Joe finally signs off at the end, I get it back. And then I go back to the beginning of the process again, where I'm now entering it, matching it, and doing that. So there's a lot of different routines that take place here. And then finally, it's all entered and matched up, and then it's ready for payment. So there's just a lot of steps there. And I've got another slide that we'll touch on here in a second, but I always ask customers, what's their current process today? And it's funny how it's very simple to match up with what they progress or process. Now, automating it with the AP robot, we receive the electronic copy of the invoice. We drop it into a folder, and then the invoice is automatically entered and matched, and all ready for posting. So ultimately, the only step of an AP clerk in a scenario where things match up is we just drop a PDF into a folder and let the AP robot take control. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, one of the things I usually ask customers right off the bat is, take me through the process. And it's funny, 95% of the time I get we're gathering, we're printing, we're matching, we're entering, we're filing. It's almost always the case. I can ask that question and then flip this slide up, and it's generally almost an exact match of what they're doing today. These are the functions that we're looking to automate. We want to take away these processes here so that you don't have to worry about the gathering, the printing, matching, entering, and filing. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're talking to Dash and just talking to our team as a whole is that we've got 20 plus years of experience in the manufacturing world. And the bottom line, I can go back even farther. I didn't start in manufacturing till 1977. So I don't even know what the math is for that, but that's a long time ago that I actually started working in manufacturing. And so worked in manufacturing, oversaw a system, and was a consultant for years and years before I got into sales. And then from our point, as far as from the Dash side of things, is we have two solutions, and they're built for Syspro. They are not built for 3 other ERP systems. They're built for Syspro. And the bottom line, those two solutions are DDX, which is our document management. And this tool has been used by customers for just about 30 years, 25 years to be very safe. It's probably 26, 27 years that we've got people that have been using the DDX product. And it's a proven product that's been in the field. We have upwards of customers that have anywhere from, a few hundred or a few thousand documents stored up to, I've got one customer with 7 million documents stored in our document management. So there are no real limitations there. And then, of course, today what we're talking about, though, is the AP robot. That's what we're keying on today, and want to help everybody get through and talk about how it can help your company become more streamlined and just automate and save you money. Bottom line, save you money. The core features of AP robot come down to a technology, number one, that didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago, called artificial intelligence. And AI is what we use to extract data from an invoice, from a foreign invoice, foreign meaning we may have never gotten an invoice from this company before, but yet the AP robot can read that invoice. And what it does is it reads it and extracts the data and connects that to field information, which then can be validated against information in Syspro. That actually takes us to our next step. We've now got data off of that page, and now we're going to do a three-way match. If it's a purchase order related item, we'll do a three-way match to Syspro data, and we'll do that in real time. So we'll actually go out and we'll compare the line items. We'll compare the vendor name, vendor number, purchase order number, everything, all the different areas that we're able to match up the invoice to the information that exists in the Syspro system. One thing with our system, we have no limit to how many users you can have using the system, for a simple subscription price. And also multi-locations, not a problem. We can do multiple locations, and we can allow you to have as many AP clerks working with the system as you'd like. So that is not an issue. The only requirement that we state is that you're all running off of the same Syspro server, same Syspro application. Could have multiple companies, multiple locations. We can handle all of that, just working with one Syspro server setup. Implementation is incredible. We basically have one screen to teach you how to use. Now, the bigger thing that we do is we continue to do follow-up. We want to make sure that the system is working for you and it's getting the job done. So we'll do the initial setup, get you the application in place, get it on your PCs or on your desktops for the clerks that need it. And then we'll do the training that's needed, where we'll actually go through a handful of examples of your own live data that we will process with you. And then we'll let you go. And then, a week down the road or a few days down the road, we'll check back and say, how's it going? Have you run into anything that's a concern? And we will, we'll take a look at that and see if there's anything that you need help with. So very, very quick, rapid implementation. We've done implementations in ultimately 2 hours or less. So occasionally we have others that need a little bit more, but the bottom line is we get it done. We do have now in our system a workflow for review and approval of invoices. So we can pass an invoice from owner to owner to owner and then come back to the clerk for final posting. And that comes along with those transfers from owner to owner. We actually audit those. So we have a full audit trail that we keep track of. And we keep that in our document management for later to be used, so that a year down the road you can come back and take a look at that audit trail and see how did this get approved? Who actually gave the final approval on this invoice? And then we are by far the most, what I would say, streamlined option that you have available to you when it comes to AP automation. We have a single user interface, which means you have one screen that you need to learn. And from that screen, you can make review and approvals. You can make any adjustments, any corrections, any approvals from just the clerking standpoint, saying that that's okay. And bottom line, all done with one screen. It was always important for us to keep this simple. We don't want to make a complex module out here that you have to bounce around and look here and then look there and go here and go there. We want to just get it done. Now, if we actually step back, and I made reference to this before, but if we actually step back and just look at the process, and as I mentioned, this is by far the most streamlined process that's available for a Syspro customer to use for AP automation. The only step that needs to take place if everything's in line is to drop a PDF of a supplier invoice into a watch folder. And a watch folder is just a Windows folder generally sitting on your desktop. So I'll show you an example of that here in just a moment when we actually jump into a live version of the product. But the bottom line is you just drop a PDF into a folder. Now you can drop 20 PDFs into that folder and it'll do exactly the same thing. It'll just go through those one at a time and it will then go on. Step number 2 is analyze. The robot, when it comes on, it's in analyze mode. And so it will then be looking to that folder to read a PDF. It will then take that PDF and push it up to Azure, which is in the cloud, and actually use that artificial intelligence that's available there to extract the data from that page. It will then match that information up to field names, and it will come back down and validate it immediately in real time against information in Syspro. No extra steps. We just get the information, match it to field names, and then validate it against real information in Syspro. So we're validating vendor name, we're validating purchase order number, we're validating items, and even outstanding line item. There's a number of things that we're validating there so that we get that done. And if you've got auto posting turned on and everything matches up, it automatically posts that directly into Syspro. And if you've got our DDX document management, at that same time, it also posts the supplier invoice into our DDX archive, again, automatically. So all the steps here are done automatically, starting first step being drop the file in the folder. And there are even ways to automate that process if you'd like. Now, when it comes to validating, we validate, and if there's an exception or an anomaly on that page, something doesn't match up quite right, we take you to the one and only user interface that we have, and that is where we can review the exception. And we will tell you on that page exactly why it does not match the information in Syspro. And then at that point, you can make the required corrections so that you can adjust whatever needs to be done so that you can then click a post button and then it will post into Syspro. So the bottom line, even if there's an exception, it's basically as simple as 1 or 2 clicks to make that correction and put it into Syspro. As we mentioned, we use AI, so there is no training, there's no mapping of invoices or any of that. And also, very important to be known, but the robot can stand alone, but it also works together with our DDX document management. It complements, each of these 2 programs complement each other when it comes to working out in the field, because the bottom line is when we post an invoice to Syspro, we also post that to DDX. I just saw a message there that said, what is DDX? DDX is the other solution that Dash has as far as in our toolkit, and that is document management. And that's full-blown document management. It's not just kind of a subset of this or subset of that. It's helping you to move to a fully automated paperless system. We're looking to automate delivery of invoices, delivery of POs, all of those things with the DDX product. And then we can manage both full 3-way match invoices, and we also can match, or we can work with non-PO related invoices. And with non-PO related invoices, we actually look into Syspro to find out what the default GL account is for that non-PO related. And then you actually have the option on the exception screen, if you choose to change from the default to a different GL if that's necessary. You also have the ability to split the GL. So maybe it goes into more than one account. But we immediately match up with what's considered the default account so that it's the standard that we're looking at. And you would only need to make, a minority of changes if the change needs to be made. Are there any, just kind of looking at the chat here to see if there's any questions before I move on? Yes, DDX is required for full automation. As far as full automation, we have a subset of DDX that we can deliver with the AP robot, which will allow you to store the supplier invoice in our DDX and kind of give you a taste of what the full-blown program is, so that you can take a look at that in kind of a not a trial, but ultimately in a first step phase 1 scenario. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to show you here. This is the main screen. This is the user interface that's related to the AP robot. Now, with the AP robot, there's a number of things around the screen. It looks like a busy screen, but once you use it for even 10 minutes, you'll realize it's very straightforward, very simple. And the bottom line is we always have, a menu bar up here at the top of the screen. I always like to comment about that first because we've got just a little information up there that's very important. The menu bar up here tells you that we're in the running mode right now. You can actually stop the AP robot so that you're not in the running mode. But what running means is that we're looking at that folder. We're continuing to look at the watch folder to see if there's any new invoices in that folder. And so it's continuing to look, and then it reads them and brings them into our window here. Then we have, if we go across the screen, there's a button up here for posting, though there is another button to actually post when we actually make any corrections. But the bottom line is we've got that. We have the ability, if we needed to save a copy of this invoice to just a drive or directory, we can actually do that from here very easily. We can actually send an email from here, which will have the invoice being an attachment. So if we needed to get it off to somebody, we certainly could. Another button that is very important and is used quite often because of the way things are done today. Company will, you'll set up a purchase order, you'll send it out to the vendor. The vendor will reply and say, okay, we're going to ship you this information, or we're going to ship this off to you. But at the same time that they're shipping it, they're probably already emailing you a supplier, their invoice for the materials. And ironically, you will get an invoice before the receipts have been received. And so this refresh ERP data allows us to view an invoice, but then once the receipt is made, and the receipt's down at the lower right-hand corner here, once the receipt is made, then we can refresh and do a comparison. So we can just have it sit on the page until the receipt's actually been done. Now we'll walk around the screen and just kind of give you a heads up of all the different areas here. These are the lists of invoices with exceptions. You'll notice there are 3 tabs to this invoices. There's a My Unposted. This represents if you have multiple AP clerks and you have some of your own unposted invoices. You have another clerk maybe that's working on another stack or another bunch of invoices. You could have multiple people. We've got up to like 4 or 5, 6 people that are AP clerks at certain companies that we work with. The second tab up here next to My Unposted is All Unposted. There is where you could go and actually see what everyone is working on, not just mine, but what everyone is working on. You can only work on the ones that are assigned to you. So if it's not in your My Unposted, You can't make changes to it at this time. They can pass it to you and you can make changes to it, no problem, using the owner status up here, up on the title bar. But ultimately, you're all responsible for your own invoices. And then the posted tab is where we go once it's been posted. And it sits on that tab for up to 30 days so that you've got a history file of invoices that have been posted. And they'll remain there for that 30-day period. And if you've got our DDX document management, they would have already been posted and archived in the DDX document management. So there they will be indefinitely, as long as you have, as long as your retention, period is set up for. So this is where the invoices are. And as a rule, you're working on my unposted. The other is more visibility into looking into the system. And then we've got information that is extracted from the invoice that is related to the headers and footers. And this information is grayed out, as you'll notice right now. But if you look at the top of that window there, there's a field that says Make Invoice Corrections. If I click that button, now I'm on a PowerPoint, so I cannot do that here. But if I make Invoice Corrections, these fields will open up and they'll be white so that you can actually see and make adjustments if there is an adjustment that needed to be made. We've come into situations where a purchase order has, say, for instance, a suffix on it. Well, you didn't put the suffix on because Syspro doesn't allow for suffixes, but obviously the vendor did. And so if we remove the suffix, it will now match the information that exists in Syspro. So just small things like that can take place. And of course, here's the supplier invoice, and we can scroll through that and actually touch on the supplier invoice. We can scroll and see the bottom of the line. We can see freight. We can see all the different areas. Then our errors and warnings section, our window down here at the lower left-hand corner, ultimately tells us exactly why this invoice is not ready to be posted. In this particular case, it says that the quantity does not equal what we've got in receipts in our GRN. And what it's looking at is it's looking at extended price and then comparing it to outstanding totals. And the outstanding total is what's in our GRN, and our extended price is off of the invoice. And if you notice here, we've got a discrepancy, 2640 difference between the two items there. Now, if we take a step back and actually look at that line a little bit closer, we'll notice that the unit price is $12.55 and related to our PO was for $12. So with that being said, we need to take a look and say, number one, do I have the authority to approve of that $12.55? And number two, if I don't have the authority, I need to send this over to somebody to get approval of that. And that's when we would then go in and we would go up to our workflow ownership and actually pass this over to someone else to take a look and then give us approval. Once we have approval, I say that in just because once we have approval, you may not approve that, and there's another step that can be done if you're not approving of the $12.55. But if you have approval, we go to this column, there's an M here. The word here is match. That's the heading. And we can check that box, and that will accept the $12.55 as being acceptable. And it will make the difference between these two, the default amount over here for the purchase price variance. So once I click the match button, the purchase price variance will change to $26.40, and everything else will be associated to the GLs that exist with the items that have been purchased. And then of course we have our freight in our GL section there also. Now the last button up here, which I made a comment of a minute ago, is the workflow ownership. And in an invoice like this, if everything matches up on a purchase order related item to the invoice, generally there's not a lot of ownership. It doesn't need much more approval in most cases because you've really approved it by matching the PO to the invoice. Now in some cases we have companies that when there's very large amounts or things that they do need to pass those on and just make sure everybody's good with that. But the bottom line, POs are not usually the case in point here. Usually the case in point is like a utility bill or any non-PO related item. We just need to find out, did you order this, and do we have approval to pay this bill? And that would generally be where we'd handle the workflow ownership, where we would be looking at something without any line items down here at the bottom, no receipts, and we would then get approval before we went forward with posting it. I'm going to go ahead and open up a different screen right now so that you guys can see the AP robot in action. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. That this is the AP robot. Right now I don't have any invoices in here. It's just an empty screen because I want to go ahead and show you what we do to actually bring items into the AP robot. You notice right now we've even got the button up here. It's click to stop. I'm going to go ahead and turn that to running so that we can actually have that running, because we're going to go and drop an item into the watch folder here on my desktop. So if I go back, I'm just minimizing my AP robot, and I'm going to go ahead and grab an invoice here. I've got a folder right up here called AP Robot Incoming, and I just dropped the PDF into that AP Robot Incoming. I'm actually going to drop a couple of them in there, so that we'll go ahead and let them drop in. And that's all that we have to do in order to kind of kick off the AP Robot, is drop them into that folder and bring them into the system. I'll put a couple more in there just to, and we'll go ahead and let that kick off. And for the sake of the demo, I didn't put anything in there until I showed you the AP Robot screen. That way you can just see them actually coming in and taking place. As we're doing this, you could at any time minimize, drop some other items into the folder. There's absolutely no issue with that at all. And then they'll come in here and we can begin reviewing those. Now keep in mind, what it's doing here right on the front end is it's actually going up, and it is sending those up to AI, and they're being reviewed by artificial intelligence, and then ultimately being brought into my screen with the extracted data that they pulled off of it. Now, this is the exact same example that I showed you on the PowerPoint, but before I even do anything at all, I mentioned that these were being extracted using AI. I have a button up here that's called Invoice Data. And Invoice Data will show you what AI viewed on that invoice and how it matches it to a tag, what I'd call to a field. And here's the tag information and the value that's related to it. So now if you see anything here, I don't know, the date, if it was screwed up, or, just anything in here that's not quite right, that would tell you that AI just had a little bit of an issue reading that, and you could make, an exception. You can make an adjustment. Now, it does a very good job. So that does not happen very often, but it is a computer, and it can make a mistake that way. So the bottom line is, now we've brought that in, and I notice there's more coming in. When it asks me to refresh, it tells me there's more items waiting to come in. Well, we'll take a look at this invoice that we talked about, this anomaly as far as the line item being off by 55 cents. That line item being off by 55 cents, we actually have the ability to allow for a small price variance when it comes to the robot. I'm going to show you the settings screen here, because in the settings screen, this is all of the settings that are needed to be put in place in order for the AP robot to work, to run. Number one, we tell it where that watch folder is. We have to tell it where the folder is that we're dropping PDFs into. And then the second line, this is the one I wanted to show you right now just very quickly. We have a variance percentage. So I can say that if the variance is within a certain percentage amount, I'm going to consider the price being a match. You can set this to 0 so that you don't have any variance, so you always see discrepancies. Or we have a number of companies that set it to 1 or 2%, just so that they see if there's a small discrepancy between the price on the PO and the price on the invoice. As I mentioned, this is all the settings that have to be done. This is the entire fleet of settings that need to be done for the AP robot to work. Our auto posting feature, we can turn that on or off. And then if we have DDX, then we fill out this information here at the lower part of the screen. If you have our document management, we check that and we tell it where the database is, what company code you're working with, and what the document type is. So from a user standpoint, again, this is all that you need to fill out in order to get started with the AP robot. All right, now back to our invoice at hand here. So we've got the invoice on the screen for steel supplies. We've got an anomaly here that the price is a little bit more than we expected it to be. So we click the Make Invoice Corrections button. And when we do that, notice how the entire screen, everything opened up, everything became white. So that now we have the ability now to make adjustments if we need to. We can go down and look at our errors and warnings, and it gives us the comment that we made before. As I mentioned, you have the ability to accept this as a match at $12.55 and say, we're just going to accept the $12.55 and we'll ultimately pay the $602.40. But the robot actually gives you another chance if you needed to say, absolutely not, we're not paying that amount. We can actually update this price to $12 and change the amount so that they do match, so that there is no price variance. So that is an option that we can do if we choose to. Generally, like I said, generally a customer or a clerk would probably just come down, get approval, and click the match button. And then if we look over here at our GL has now corrected itself, and we now have a purchase price variance of the $26.40, the difference between the two. At this point, we have corrected the issue. There is no longer an issue with this particular item. So we can go ahead and we can save and post. So this one, a dollar amount anomaly, we can match it and then save and post. And that will then remove it from my unposted tab and actually bring it over to the posted tab. And then we will move on to the next one. When we move on to the next one, we happen to have a utility bill. Now, as I mentioned, this is a non-PO related item. So this is case in point, could easily be that this happens to be an item that needs approval, or at least needs a set of eyes to look at it before we push it through. So then the clerk would come up here and say, well, I got to get this over. Got to get this over to Stephanie and have her take a look at it. And then Stephanie will go ahead and say, please review. And I can put anything in here I want. And so we'll keep it pending review, go to Stephanie and say save changes, and watch what takes place now. Now we actually will take, and that particular item came out of my unposted. And now if I go to my all unposted tab, I will now have a list of the remaining invoice that I have to approve, but I also have the invoice that I passed over to Stephanie. And if I click on that one, again, I can see that one, but I no longer have the ability to do anything with it. The allow me to do corrections or anything has all been highlighted out because I no longer have possession of that particular item. I only have the ability to review it. So I'll go back and I'll move on and take a look at my next item at hand here, which happens to be a freight line order. And I'm going to say make corrections because this one, if you look down in the lower left corner, it says error, purchase order, maximum number of characters, only 6 characters. Well, all of us know that we do not have purchase orders for freight bills. So we look at the information that it pulled off of that document and it says, okay, there's a purchase order. It actually found on that page a purchase order. Well, we know that freight bills don't have purchase orders, so we then correct for that. And then it will take that off and we won't have a purchase any longer. And then we just go down here right now. It doesn't know what to do with this item because with the purchase order, it was looking for a PO. But if I do my refresh GL distribution, it will reread Syspro and it will go out and find the associated. Let's see, let me save that. I got to save it. It will then go out and find the associated GL account that goes with that particular item. That's something that I've got just not quite right here. There's the freight account that we have. Oh, the problem, let me just explain to you what I did here. And that way, the reason that this did not come in, and this is a very simple scenario here, but the reason this didn't come in is it did not find the supplier number. It's telling me it does not have the supplier number. So I then need to type a little bit of the supplier number, and that comes back to the fact that it also had a purchase order, which completely messed us up. Now we can do a GL redistribution, and then it'll go out and find that freight amount for us. So the bottom line, what took place here is it found a purchase order, but because it found a purchase order, it found no match for supplier number. And so I typed in the supplier number or the supplier name, just 2 or 3 characters until I was able to pick from the list. And then everything matched up. Now I have the supplier number. I can now read Syspro. I can now read the supplier record in Syspro and find the default freight account. So with all of that being said, this is now ready to be posted. I can just do a save and post. And so that puts that over to the posted tab. And while I was doing that, I actually received, and I'll show you what I received here. I'm just going to bring this over real quick without switching screens. I actually received from Stephanie, who I'd asked for information, and she approved the invoice. I can see that approval because it's right here. This is what I sent to her to be approved. This is what Stephanie received. She received myself saying, you know, please approve, reject, or whatever. So that's what she received in her email, not in AP Robot, but in her email. And then she sent back to me that she has approved this and that we can now move on and that I can go ahead and finalize this particular item. So this is our utility bill. She approved it. I apologize for jumping back and forth, but with going from one screen to another with the email. And then the bottom line, this is ready to be posted. She has approved it. And I'll show you that down here at the bottom, there is a tab called Invoice History. And this invoice history goes down here and it says that I passed it to Stephanie to review. Stephanie approved it and it made a comment. And then now this is ready to be posted. Now, if you own our DDX document management, when this gets posted, this will be posted to the DDX archive. These audit notes down here will be posted along with this document to the archive. And you'll be able to see that audit in DDX. So I'll go ahead and post that through. Now, all three of those items that we reviewed have went through the process and are now over here on the posted tab, which I can no longer make corrections to them because they have been posted to Syspro in the AP invoice file. Now it's just like you hand entered those manually by hand into Syspro. So they have not been posted as far as to pay, but they have been posted as transactions ready to be paid. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here so that we can go back to the PowerPoint. So, things to be aware of. We can send this chart out to you at any time. We don't have to go through it one line at a time or anything like that. But the bottom line is shows the different functionality that we have compared to other solutions that exist out there. Most importantly, there's a little surprise. I don't know if you can hear that or not. We got a little video down here in the lower right-hand corner.
We can't see your screen yet, Scott.
Oh, you can't? That's no good.
All right, that's better.
Okay,
yep.
There you go. Thank you. I was going to mention we've got a little video down here at the bottom too that's going on while we're reviewing this, but you can see the different options that that we have. We're real time. There's no exporting or importing of tons of data that going back and forth between two systems or anything like that. We do everything in real time, and the way that it works, we can handle unlimited users and unlimited amount of locations also. So the number of different things there that we do that some others do not handle. All right. So the bottom line, when it comes to the Dash AP Robot, we also offer what we call the AP Robot Plus, which even if you don't have our DDX document management system, we can give you a subset of that system, which will allow for the AP Robot to post the AP invoices to Syspro and also post them to the DDX archive. And I'd seen the question about, well, do we post the invoice history, the audit history of the ownership of that into Syspro? And the bottom line, no, we do not. We post it into DDX, the document archive, because that is a place that it would be posted alongside of the AP invoice or the supplier invoice, which is where I would want that audit to be, is with the document that you actually approved it against. So the bottom line is we can handle this, so we can deliver you a document put away in our archive and have the archive have that history along with it. Then just stepping back, as I mentioned before, we're the most streamlined application that's out there. So we can get the job done by as simple as dropping it into a folder. I didn't show any items today that automatically went through, but if things would have matched up, they could have auto posted. We try to show examples of anomalies, I guess I would say, in the presentation. But the bottom line is anything that would be a match, it would just pass right on through if we have auto posting turned on. How do you know if your company could use -AP robot? Comes down to, what's the invoice count? Is it increasing? Are you going to need to increase your number of clerks, or do you have other things that you'd like that person to be working on other than just the busy work of entering information and gathering, matching, and doing all of this that goes along with it? Takes too much time to match and post and enter. Also, GRNs sometimes are, as far as matching those up, when you get that invoice, if there's no GRN out there, what do? Set the PDF or set the printed document off to the side and wait for the GRN to come in a day or 2 or 3 down the road and inadvertently lose the document and anything else that could take place. The bottom line is we put it on a list and it just sits there until the GRN exists. So we want to eliminate too much data entry, and we don't want to touch every invoice, that's for sure. Got plenty of people out here talking good about our product. Just let us know and we can connect you with references as far as that goes. Then current promotion right now, if we were to sign you up, we would sign you up and you would have the option to go forward with a full year of the AP robot. And so basically you would pay for 11 months and the 12th month would be free. And we'd get that all set up so that, you could save a little money. Also, this is not ever a promo or anything like that. It's just our standard policy is a 30-day risk-free cancellation. And what that amounts to is that we set you up and we get everything in place. We do bill you for the initial install, which is a minimal amount, but it's just a little skin in the game on your part. And then that first 30 days, you actually use the system and you actually run up to 100 transactions through it. And if you choose at the end of the 30 days or by the end of the 30 days to cancel, that you can do. And, we shake hands and we go away. The bottom line, if there's something wrong, something that we don't do that you're looking for, we'd like to know about that. Because as my boss says, the things that we haven't put into the robot are the things we don't know about yet, are the things that people tell us about. So contact us for details so that we can help you with that. We got another surprise at the end. So anyway, the bottom line is that's what we wanted to cover today. If there's any other questions, I know that we've been trying to catch the chat and questions and answers as we go here, but the bottom line is if you need additional information from us, we're more than happy to get together. We'll sit down, listen, take a look at how you handle things today, and see how we match up with your needs and requirements, and get you a system that can really streamline your process so that you can save money along with streamlining your process. All right. Stephanie, I don't know if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, this is great. A lot of questions coming in. We still have a couple minutes if you guys would like to put in the chat. So there's some questions on pricing. So Scott, why don't you put your email in the chat real quick so they could email you on pricing. Absolutely. I answered a question in there on the subscription-based pricing. We'll give you a yearly price and Scott can help you break that down. He'll just need to know how many invoices you do per year. and then we can give you a quote. So if you could have that number ready when you email them, that's even more helpful to be a step ahead. There it is. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
Scott's
right.
email.
We just need the year amount.
Yeah,
Just
we
so
can
you
get you a quote
kind of
pretty
expect.
fast. Lots of good questions on what is best for you too. So we kind of have three options, right? On you could just do AP Robot, just keep it simple, get started. You can always add the plus later, right? If you want to start storing invoices. And then the third option is I want to go all out. I want AP automation and I want full document automation. That's your third option. So there's three ways to get started, which is nice. And you can pick which one is best for you based on your team's needs and of course your budget, right? So the robot is easy to get started because it's an easy price point and we can get you up and running. You'd be working with me we get you up and running, like you said, in a day or two. So if you wanted AP automation still in July, that's actually still doable this month. So I love how quick and easy this can be to set up, get started, give it a try, put some invoices in from your suppliers and see how it works. If you've never tried the automation before, it's a really fabulous tool to just get started with it. And like I said, you can always add those options later that we showed you. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think pricing is that last step. So go ahead and shoot Scott a message. That's probably the next best step with us. I can shoot you some videos. I'll send you guys a follow-up email with some information too that might be helpful as you're shopping around. But we have had this product for, gosh, almost 4 years with Syspro. So it's pretty exciting. We have a lot of customers out there in the Syspro world using it. Super happy, easy to use, like Scott said. And what version? Good question, Gina. So we work with Syspro 7 and 8. So that's probably everybody on the call, to be honest. Everybody should be on 7 and or 8, right? So you're all probably good, unless, but 7 and 8. Good question. Any other questions, Scott, that you get often out there?
No, not that I can think of, not right now. Like I said, feel free to get a hold of me and we can do a demo specifically for your situation. Occasionally we have people ask, can we do this or can we do that? And frankly, we just need to look at it and take a look. And we're open to look at the way that you do things and get a better understanding, so we can help you out, so we can streamline the process.
Oh yeah, somebody just asked, can we do PO and non-PO invoices? And the answer is yes, we do both.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The automation comes from the PO, right? Because we're matching your invoice, the PO, and the GRN.
Right.
But we can put non-POs in there too. Oh yeah, and we do custom plugins. So we do have some customers that use a special version of Syspro, right? They've customized, so we've customized the robot for them too, which is exciting. So if you have some automated tasks on how you pull GL accounts or how you handle tax or how you handle freight, we have built some plugins for customers based on those too, which is nice. So you are even more automated than our base robot. So as you get to work with us, the robot gets even better because we can take it to that next level once you've put some invoices in and you go, oh, can it do this? What about this? And our team's totally up for that. So we, like Scott said, we keep making it better, keep improving it. Once we get to know you and your business, we can customize the robot as well. Yep,
absolutely.
Cool. Right. We're right at our time. We'll hang out for a little bit, but thank you guys for being on. There was a lot of you on today. We really appreciate your time today. I know you have a million things going on. It's middle of the month. We appreciate you jumping on to learn. And we hope to hear from you in the future, whether it's just a trial, get started, give us a try, give Scott a call, give him an email, and we'll get you started. We're excited. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.